Welcome. It's been a while. I'm going to talk a little bit about the finished objects I've had in the last, let's say, month or two. Um, I have actually done quite a lot of knitting, but I don't have that many finished objects. And I think that that's because I just have been doing really big, like larger projects. Um, so at the moment, I really only have two things in progress. But or actually I've put a few things for hibernation, or I've put one big thing for hibernation, so I'll get started with that. So this is, I'm calling it my drop shoulder doppelganger. I'm basically modeling this after a sweater that I like, a fast fashion sweater that I own. It has like a pretty wonky double knitted collar, but I didn't have to seam anything here, and I used short rows to do all these shapings, and the shapings in the back. I am so freaking proud of this piece because I designed it, or designed it. I did all the maths myself. It's probably using a lot of different techniques that I've learned over my last few years of knitting. And yeah, it is a very woolly, it's not really that woolly, but it's like an alpaca wool, so it feels very warm when you have it in your lap. Obviously, I need to pick up for the sleeves now. And so I've got a couple sleeves on a stitch marker here, and then I need to pick up a bunch and do the sleeves. My plan for this, well, a couple things. My first plan is that when I do the sleeves, they're not really just boxy sleeves. They've got like a bit of an extra length at the top. So I'm planning to do that sort of a half set in sleeve with a few short rows. And I'll just do the maths for that again when the time comes. But I have enough stuff at the moment where I don't think I'm gonna be finishing this season, especially because I don't feel that pressing. Like, I'm obviously not gonna wear this anymore. We're into May here, and it's quite warm already. I mean, warm. It's like, I don't know, 13, 14 degrees Celsius regularly, and or above that during the day. And I'm the kind of person, like, I'm wearing wool right now, but as the day progresses, like even this is like a Nutiden, really like loose gauge. I mean, it's hard to tell, but maybe you recognize it as that Midori House sweater pattern that everyone has, the ranunculus. I've knit like tons of these. I just think it's a really nice pattern. It's really, I don't know, I like knitting things that, actually, you know why I really knit this pattern a lot? Because I have like the perfect needle to knit this at, so that it fits me pretty well. I always knit it one whole needle size, or one whole millimeter needle size denser than the pattern recommends, and I really like the fit that gives, because I'm quite small. So anyways, so I knit this on a 5.5. I have the perfect 5.5 mil needle, where you can basically barely fit it up until here because it's really small circumference, and then you have like a breeze knitting the sleeve. So it's really good travel knitting. It's a wooden needle as well, so I often take that if I want to like knit something on travel. Anyways, all that is to say, I don't think I'll be wearing this because this is significantly warmer than this, and I'm really proud of how it looks, and I think the sleeves will be pretty easy knitting once the weather gets colder again. This is probably only my second time hibernating a project. My first time is like a summer piece that I actually need to pick up again, so I'll leave that to the side. I do have another finished object that I don't have here because I've already gifted them, but my mom gave me a set of 3 balls of yarn. 3 balls of yarn, yeah, that's right. And it's just like Hofer. I don't know what's the equivalent of Hofer. It's like Aldi yarn. Aldi, yeah, Aldi yarn. And I mean, it's just a classic 75, 25, 25% nylon, 75% superwash wool. Has like cute little patterns on it, and I had 3 balls of 50 grams, and that was supposed to be enough to make 2 socks. So I promised my dad I'd make him some socks, and my mom had this wool laying around, so she just gave it to me. She tried her hand at sock knitting and she was not into it. So I made him a pair of socks. I made his socks toe up, and I used a double like increased gusset, which is a pattern I've used before, and I really, really like the way it fits a foot. My dad and I have a really similar feet shape. I also, I mean, this isn't that pair, but I also used this sort of uneven decreasing. So on the little toe side, I decrease every other round, or I increase every other round from the toe. And on this side, I decrease or I increase every, at the beginning, it's every like 4 rounds, and then towards the end it's like every 3 rounds or not at all. So as a result, you get this like nice form fitting. I have very like wide feet, and I really don't like that like narrow weird toe that is like the standard on sock patterns. So I've actually never knit, even my first pair of socks, I was like, this doesn't make sense. I'm making these for myself. I'm just gonna do this. So I've been doing this ever since I started knitting socks, and I really recommend it. Anyways, I had, by the point I was done, I knit both pairs of socks for my dad from the inside of the ball, and I had quite a substantial amount left on the 2 balls I had started, and I still had a 3rd ball. And at the time I was visiting my grandma, and she was a knitter herself. Really nice memories of just talking to her about knitting and so on. And I finished the socks like while I was visiting with her in the span of like 3 days. It's like a DK weight sock or something like that. I knit this on 3.5 millimeter needles. Anyways, long story short, I decided with the remaining sock wool, I would make a 2nd pair of socks, and that's what I've done. And I, as you can see, even have sock wool left. I mean, I don't really like the super long socks that go like really way up your foot, so I just made like a pair of normal socks. However, I made this for my grandma. So she's at the moment, she's finding it really difficult to walk. She's in a wheelchair most of the time. I mean, you know, as you get older, you have arthritis. It's kind of standard. But for that reason, I elected, instead of doing it toe up, which is my preferred method, I did want it to be super easy for her to get on her foot and not have any struggles with it, especially since other people are often helping her get ready. So I knit it cuff down, and the other advantage of that was that then the tops of the sock, I feel like such a genius for coming up with this. I knit this with the like remaining matching balls of yarn that I had left. And then with the 3rd ball of yarn, I did the rest of the sock. So you can see the rest of the sock doesn't match at all, but it looks from the top that they do match. I was like, very smart. Good thinking there. On my part, so I did feel very smart. So I need to send these off to her. I'll probably be doing that sometime this week, and yeah, I'm super happy with those. So I did knit 2 pairs of socks, but these were really, really fast. I spent most of the time of the last months doing the maths for this guy. I did also make some progress on my snake socks, my lateralis socks I showed last time, but it's hard to tell because this project is becoming really a slog. You can see here I've done the heel increase part here in this section because it has like a little bit of a bend to it. And now I'm doing the middle of the heel. Oof, man, this project, I couldn't tell you, I mean, I could probably tell you a couple reasons why I'm really finding this a struggle. Firstly, it's just back and forth the whole time. Garter stitch, which I figured out, I don't really love garter stitch, to be honest with you. Although I was like somehow in a pattern buying spree, which I usually never do that. I bought 2 patterns before I was actually gonna like literally cast them on. And one of them is in garter stitch. Anyways, okay, that's to the side there. The lateralis sock, I really do I love the idea. I can't wait to get to the seaming and the cuffing and then seeing how they fit because I think they're going to fit really well. And I also I like the idea that they're going to just be like two at a time, like the majority of the knitting will be done. And I didn't have to do any purling. That's great. But I really do not I just firstly, I don't like that you can't see the stripes. So I feel like I'm doing all this work with this extra ball of yarn, and you can't see the stripes very well. Like you can kind of see the stripes, but because both of the balls of yarn have like a dark black color, I think you can kind of see it. It's really hard to tell where the two yarns differ. So it's, I don't know, it's just really hard to tell. So even though you can kind of see it, like the white stripe, the white and black is one yarn and the green and black is another yarn, but I don't think it's, the final outcome doesn't look good enough for me to justify the swapping of yarns. I think it would look just as good if I had just used one yarn the entire time. And I think if I knit this again, particularly with this yarn, I would do that because I have to say that also knitting them two at a time, the yarn is just like, it's like a nudelsalat. It's like this, I don't know. All the yarn's getting like mixed up in like a spaghetti style pasta situation. It's really uncomfortable. I have to like take it out of the bags and like untie them all the time. So it's not really great travel knitting or like public transport knitting. And so as a result, I'm not really enjoying it, not really gravitating to picking it up if I want to do something easy because it's not that easy. Whatever. I am interested in the construction. I just think if I did it again, I would either do each sock separately, like one option, or I wouldn't do the stripes and I would just pick like a self-striping yarn or a yarn with some pattern in it, and then it would already give it enough texture where you wouldn't need a second one. I love the sample. I think it looks so good with the stripe and the garter and but whatever. We'll see if it fits well. If it fits well, then it's worth maybe doing it one at a time with the stripe. But I could also see it being like a bit loose. So we'll see. Judgment's still out on that. So those were the things. I feel like I had one other thing I was working on and maybe I've forgotten about it, which is never good. Oh, no, I don't know. I should probably look at my Ravelry queue. In any case, I've cast on a new thing, which is taking over my life. So like I said, I went to visit my grandma, had a long flight to get there. That's my last surviving grandparent. And on the way there, I wanted something that I would not run out of yarn. I wouldn't run out of knitting. Obviously, that's like a knitter's biggest fear when traveling is running out of knitting. So I brought the socks with me, but I'd also brought a few balls of Nutiden yarn. And I'm holding two strands together. So these are the only two Nutiden yarns I've ever bought before. This bottom one, it's like a brown, very lanolin heavy, really smells sheepy. It's delightful and delicious smelling. And this is actually what I've knit this out of. It's very rustic looking. When I first wore it, it was also rustic feeling, but it's really softened up. Like now it's like a sweatshirt. I'm wearing it next to skin. It's great. And the other one is actually so beautiful. I feel sad that I'm mixing them together, but it does give a beautiful texture to it. It's like a white. It's really not gonna ever pick this up, but it's got like flecks of orange and like sort of reddy, rusty colors and golds in there. It's gorgeous. So this one is from, I think, the last season, and I had been waiting for a yarn that I thought would look good with this brown. And in fact, I became a patron of the Hoch I can't pronounce them, but the Nutiden makers, because I really wanted to find a yarn that would go really well to this, so that with the brown one, so that I could make the nostalgic sweater coat. So this is a pattern by Albiona McLaughlin. As you can see, I've done the collar, the raglan increases, some of the body, and I am currently working on the sleeve. And what I love about this yarn, I'm actually, I know a lot of people have mixed feelings about working with unspun yarn. I think that the final product is so 100% worth it. I knit this single, this one here, and it was a little bit finicky, but I think the brown color is like much more delicate than the white color here. And the white color is very sturdy and brings a lot of dimension to the fabric. And she has a marled sample, and I really like that look. I think if I could go back, I wish I hadn't picked this weird brown. I don't know why I don't really love this brown. I do think it like suits me and my skin tone and so on. And I wear this sweater a ton. So I guess it's not so bad. But yeah, I wish there was a way to make this like white with all the little specks pop more. I almost wish I had bought like double the quantity and just made it all in white, but that would still not solve the problem of like all this brown one I have that I guess I could make like a million socks. But in any case, I am really enjoying this pattern. I love knitting with this yarn, actually knitting with other yarn, because I was knitting on my Lateralis socks in the metro yesterday. I was like, oh, it's just a delightful feeling knitting with this, in my opinion. So I liked it. I like it so much that in fact I ordered some more Nutiden yarn in smaller quantities finally from the Beltane collection. And I ordered there's a really green and then there's one that just has a cool name called Alchemy, and I was like, I love that name. I'll just be buying that yarn just because of the name. I feel like there's a lot of yarns that like do well because of their names, so I don't know. In any case, I'm really enjoying this project. I can't wait to wear this. In fact, I was planning on hibernating this after I finish both of the sleeves, but I might keep going on it. One of the main things I dislike about this project is that it requires a lot of purling, and I do not like purling, but it's not the end of the world. I clearly have made it pretty far despite all the purling. So yeah, it's also the raglan increases are just gorgeous. I don't know, it sort of flies by the way that she makes you do them. And there's like rapid increases at the end, so like when it gets really long, it's when the rows get really big, it's kind of going quite quickly, so it's really smart. And also I feel like it's going to give a better fit this way. I've never knit a raglan this way. In fact, I've bought very few sweater patterns because I usually use like Elizabeth Zimmerman's method if I'm going to make a raglan. And just sort of freestyle it. But yeah, love this pattern, love working on it. It's a joy to knit in the sun. Holy moly, it's a joy to knit in the sun. And it's unlike this one here that has this sort of alpaca-y, really like, I don't know, this is so much warmer feeling, like uncomfortably warm in warm weather than this is. This just feels nice in warm weather, even though it's like, if you had to pick between both of them, like which one's softer, like you would pick that this one's probably softer. I don't know. Now that I'm feeling it. No, actually this one's softer. It's so crazy. This yarn is bonkers to me. I don't really get it, but I knit like one of the pockets already as like a swatch to check that I was on gauge. I ended up really faffing around with my gauge. I have no idea if this is above gauge. It might be above gauge, but I thought it was a coat. As long as it kind of fit this way, if it was a bit wide, it's okay. I've tried it on. Seems good to me, but yeah. So those are the main things I'm working on. Again, this is going to take a lot longer, so I might, again, hibernate the nostalgic sweater coat at some point, just because I'm assuming once it gets to the point where I'm going to make the full length version eventually. I have enough yarn for it. Once I get to some point, I think it's going to get, like, it's going to be really tough to knit on in the high summer. So, I'm pretty sure at the beginning of this year I was going to go on a yarn buying hiatus or stop. Obviously that did not happen because I bought the Nutiden yarn to mix together to make this coat. Obviously I bought new Nutiden yarn. It's weird with Nutiden, it's hard because you're like, I'll never get that color again. So you feel like sort of the scarcity element. It's like excellent marketing on their part. But yeah, all that's to say, I did not keep to that promise. And yeah, I have more stuff. When I went to visit my grandma, I bought, well, before I knew whether I would have enough sock wool to make her a pair of socks, I actually bought sock wool locally that had been locally dyed with the objective of knitting her a pair of socks with that. And I bought a color that to me is like really out of my comfort zone. It's like crazy. And even though it's supposed to be fingering, to me, the way that it's spun, you can see it's like a bit rustically spun. It feels to me that it's a bit thicker, like it's on the thicker fingering side, maybe even a sport weight. So I do think I can knit it on a 3mm needle. And yeah, I sort of ripped the tag. The only thing I know is it's called Miss Naughty Yarns. And yeah, this is just it's, again, not my color palette necessarily, but gorgeous. And I also know that my husband loves blues and he loves all shades of blue. I mean, there's a bit of green in there, but so I thought like if my grandma, if I knit her a pair, because I think this is enough for probably 2 pairs of socks again, I'll knit her a pair, I'll knit my husband a pair, and then we'll be good. So we'll have that used up. Yeah, so this was that, my other spontaneous yarn purchase. I thought it would just be so cute to like buy a local yarn and then make her socks from her local yarn, but I'm knitting them all the way over here. Yeah. Also, I don't know, I mean, it's kind of sad to say, but like, I don't know how many more times I'm going to go back to, so that my grandma lives in the States. And I don't really have a whole ton of other reasons to visit the States, aside from her, and you know, I obviously have some family members there, but they can all visit me. So yeah, my grandma can't, so I have to go back. In any case, there's one other yarn that I bought while I was there. I was tempted. It was very hard to resist the temptation. I've heard so much about this yarn online, and I found it really difficult to resist the urge. So now I am a proud owner of this Manos del Uruguay skein. Oh my god, look at the skein of yarn. The other thing that's incredible about this yarn is just how freaking soft it is. It reminds me a little bit of the sort of watercolory style that, what's that other company? Malabrigo does. I have to say I don't 100% love Malabrigo. Controversial opinion. But I have the sense that this has a little bit of a different spin to it just by looking at it, because I think Malabrigo is like very uniform and like not very springy, whereas if I tug on this, this feels a bit springier. In any case, it doesn't even matter. The colors are so gorgeous. I have kind of plans on what I could do with this. It's 800 meters, so it'd be enough for like a sweater like this. I'll knit at a loose gauge, held with another yarn. I might do that. I have, oh, I forgot to, yeah, I actually bought other yarn as well that I totally forgot about. I bought yarn just to have in my stash. There was a sale at my local yarn store on this sort of fingering weight, no, lace weight cashmere. That it was like half off, and it's a yarn I often buy for projects to hold with. So I bought it in 2 colors in a sweater's quantity. So yeah, putting that together with this. One's like a white and one's a goldeny, orangey brown. It's like more actually goldeny brown. But I just want to have them so that when I want to go out and buy one, I already have it. And they're colors that I would anyways gravitate towards. So, yes, I'm thinking for the future here. That's what I'm telling myself. It's a problem. And it was funny, the lady at the yarn store was so lovely, obviously. And who at a yarn store is not lovely? So the lady at the neighborhood yarn store where my grandma is from, by the way, it had the cutest name. The yarn store was called Kid You Not, but it was spelled K-I-D, like, yeah, you guys get it. U as in E-W-E, and then not K-N-O-T. Oh, that was just the beginning of how awesome it was. And then you got in, and then the lady was lovely and everything. Anyways, so, I'm not really sure. I think I've lost my train of thought there, but yeah, I found it really difficult to resist this. The fact that I only came out with 2 things of yarn is really truly a miracle. So yeah, I tried to buy things where I was like, I won't be able to find this anywhere else. And I don't know any yarn store I go to that stocks Manos del Uruguay here. So yeah. Oh crap, I bought a 3rd ball of yarn. Wow, I have like the memory of a goldfish. Okay. So before my trip, friends of mine who knew that I knit, also, well, I think they either also knit or they're buying yarn for somebody to knit them something. They were ordering off of a website to buy yarn, and they were like, we're 10 euros away from having free shipping. Hey, do you want any yarn, Cassandra? And I was like, well, actually they started with like, do you need any yarn? I was like, I never need yarn actually, but do I want yarn? Yes, in fact, I do want yarn. So I had a look at the time, and still, even with these acquisitions, I didn't really have any yarn for knitting new summer knits. And I also know summer knits like go by real fast. So in the summer, I often make like a couple of shirts or shorts, and then I'll also make lots of socks. So I have a lot of sock yarn, but that's, small circumference knitting can be hard on the hands. So I decided to buy some bamboo cottony style yarn, and it was the Hobbii website, which principally I feel like this is sort of like the fast fashion of yarn along with drops. But yeah, I bought this yarn. I bought quite a lot of it actually. And I've been going back and forth what to make with it. I think I have exactly 1,000 meters of it, because I think what happened was there was like some type of sale on this, and I said I wanted either 2 or 3, and then they bought me 3, but then when you got like a 4th one for free. So I ended up with 4 of them, even though I think I'll probably only need 2. So I thought maybe I could try a pattern that needed more yarn. And the one I think I'm going to go for is called the Provence Tee, which the sample's knit in purple and like dark blue, and I think that looks really good. But I wonder if it would look good in this. So yeah, I can't meet gauge. I cannot meet gauge. I tried already, because I think at a looser gauge, it would look like too holey, and I want to be able to wear it maybe like to work or something like that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to knit it at a tighter gauge, so 3.5, and I'm just going to knit a size up because I have so much yarn, so I don't really have like a yarn deficit issue. So that's my plan at the moment. And I don't own a lot of drop shoulder tees, and I have a feeling it's because I don't think they look that good on me. But I might just risk it. Yeah. The thing is, here's the main problem. I already bought the pattern, which I never do. Usually I only buy the patterns after I know that I'm going to knit them. Like I'm literally sitting down to cast it on. I've met gauge, all that stuff. And then I buy the pattern. And that's what I've been doing basically up until now. I've never bought a pattern before I'm literally about to sit down. But I I think I had sat down to try and cast it on, and then I realized I was like totally off gauge, and yeah, whatever, doesn't really matter. Yeah, this is gonna be a fun project. I also might try and knit it like at a smaller gauge so that it fits better, and then I might try and tailor it so it's like more of a set-in sleeve, but I kind of like the slouchy looking feel, so I still need to think about it basically a little bit more, but I'm pretty sure it's going to become a Provence tee because otherwise I'm going to have like two shirts in the same color, because I originally wanted to make the Golden Oaks tank or the Lydia 2. Anyways, they look really similar. I'm finding it difficult to differentiate between them, but basically it's like a tank top that's knit bottom up, and it's got like a lace hem and like a V-neck or a scoop neck, or I don't know what's going on there, but it only requires like 200 meters of yarn. So I could basically just finish it in like this one ball. Yeah, so we'll see. Okay, and then on to my last acquisition that I'm going to be sharing, because this has basically just been an acquisitions video in a year where I should not be acquiring any freaking yarn. And it is, maybe you already recognize it from this, it is a Noro yarn ball, which I hear is quite a popular yarn. I have no idea where I could find this again locally for me, so I thought I would just jump at the opportunity to buy it because it's once again a summer yarn, and I actually plan to cast this on Friday because I am traveling, and this is like perfect. It's like one ball. Use it for my travel knitting, and I will finish off with I had already decided what I was gonna make, a Sarah vest. It's very funny because the Sarah vest, I think it's called a Sarah vest. It's like supposed to be like knit and mohair, and you're supposed to like wear it over dresses or something. And I'm like, I'm gonna make this into a summer top, and I'm gonna knit it at like a worsted weight. But I met Gage, so we'll see. In any case, I want to show you the fabric that it makes. It's so pretty. This is the fabric. As you can see, I bought this pattern for this tank that was all garter stitch, and I like upon knitting it again, I was like, I hate garter stitch. I also don't love the look of garter stitch. Like in a blanket, sure, but like normally, I don't know. And that's what it looks like in the stocking stitch. It looks gorgeous. I love it. So I'm very excited to knit this. I think it's going to be a pleasure to knit in the sun. So we're going to Barcelona this weekend, basically. And yeah, I'm so excited. Knitting in Barcelona with this. I'm afraid I might actually finish it, but I'm always afraid I'm going to run out of yarn or knitting. And I almost never do. So, but even though it's a constant fear of mine. So that's pretty much it. Oh, wait, I've got one more thing. Yeah, so my plans right now at the moment are to keep moving on the nostalgic sweater coat, cast on the Provence top, and also cast on the Sarah, I don't know, why do I have it in the bag, you might ask? Cast on my Sarah vest. My only concern actually about the Sarah vest is I'm planning on wearing it without anything underneath. And it's got like these eyelet details that go vertically. And I'm afraid that like, I don't know, it's going to be a little bit too revealing. So I'm trying to think about like how I could minimize that. But I don't know. Maybe that's just like a risk I have to take. In any case, those are my two future cast-ons, and then I think once I'm done with these stupid Lateralis socks, I will get cracking on some more socks, just like vanilla socks. So yeah, I do have one other exciting-ish. No, it is exciting thing. Probably for about 2 months now, I've been collecting my onion skins, my red onion skins, because we eat an inordinate amount of red onion in this house, and I've been collecting them, and then the box that I had them in, the skins, was getting rather full. So as a result, I finally put my head down and yeah, got dyeing. So I actually, when was it? On, I guess, Friday or Saturday, we had a long weekend here. I put them in the pressure cooker, cooked them for like half an hour, and then I strained the liquid, let it cool overnight, and then in the morning I took some balls of yarn that I had laying around. It's hard to, it doesn't look that good on camera, but it really looks good in person. I had these balls of Drops. I couldn't tell you what it is, Lima or Puna. And it's actually the yarn that you can see at the bottom of this. Because originally I had cast this on to be a gray sweater, and then I hated this gray. And that is exactly when I started to collect onion skins. So you can tell how old this sweater is. So yeah, I cast it on with this gray. I still haven't figured out if I'm gonna like rip that out and then like just do a sewn cast off where the cast on edge was. In any case, you can see that there's a substantial difference between the two. No, you really can't. The camera's not picking it up, but there is a substantial difference in the color. This is much more of a red gray, and because I'm sort of a cool, I wouldn't describe myself as cool toned, I would describe myself as warm toned. I think that this gray looks significantly better on me than the other gray that I had to work with. So I basically spun out all the balls of yarn into like my spinner. I don't know what those things are called, the like umbrella situation that you cake up stuff with. Anyways, the name will come to me, I'm sure, like the moment I stop filming. And then I just dunked these babies in the oniony soup that I had. And it's really funny because you can really see what a difference is. This is just like some spare yarn I had laying around, and you can see it like really dyed it like red. And I had really wanted to make the whole thing red, but I think because of the way that Drops processes their yarn, it didn't really turn out as vibrant as it could have, but all the little white threads, because it did have quite a lot of like, you know, those little alpaca-y white threads, did get dyed. So I did heat it a little bit, and then I also dyed a shirt, like a cotton shirt that I didn't really love the colors in. It didn't dye that dramatically. I mean, it didn't dye as dramatically as like the white thread that you just saw, but I mean, whatever. I like it a lot better now, so maybe I'll show that in the future. In any case, that's pretty much it. I've been rambling for long enough, and hopefully next time I will have made some dents in my nostalgic sweater coat. Hopefully I will be at least finished with the tubes of these Lateralis socks, and I will have cast on a couple summer knits. And yeah, I'm excited, very excited to have those projects to wear. I'm just so excited to knit with that Noro thread. It is a delight to knit with because of all the colors playing together. So yeah, I'm excited for this weekend to go to Barcelona. I might be even more excited to be knitting with that yarn. So, and I hear there's good yarn shops in Barcelona, which is quite a dangerous situation. So we'll see about that. In any case, yes, it has been a pleasure to reflect on all of what I've done because I had felt like I hadn't really done a lot. Yeah, I mean, the lady at the yarn store, I kid you not, had said like yarn shopping, pattern browsing, and knitting are all different hobbies. And I really, really liked that sentiment. I completely agree with that. In any case, I think I did more of that yarn shopping, pattern browsing. So I did a lot of planning, I think. And now I'm ready to execute the plans. So that is all. Have a good one and see you in the next one.